Now, Africa's port infrastructure is in for a boost. Come 2029, logistics group DP World will have invested just over 55 billion rand into the continent's port facilities. This is to accommodate a long-term growth. And joining me now to unpack all of that is Mohammed Akoojee, CEO and MD of DP World Sub-Saharan Africa. Thank you so much for your time, Mohammed. Now, let's actually start off with the state of logistics in Africa. What is that looking like? How would you describe that amid the current economic and geopolitical climate?
The logistics landscape in Africa is challenging. We know the bottlenecks with our ports. We know that logistics costs into and out of Africa is exorbitant relative to other markets, and up to 75% of the value of the product in certain cases is made up of logistics costs, which is way higher than the average of around 6 to 8%. So lack of infrastructure, lack of good technology, border posts that are not efficient, all of those play a role. Lack of rail infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. So it is a challenging environment. It is an environment that requires significant investment. But in there lies the opportunity. And despite the challenges in Africa, we as DP World are quite positive by the opportunities that lie within.
Yeah.
Also, if you look at just Africa from a global context, it represents less than 3% of global trade, but it's got 1 billion people, and it's rich in minerals and resources. And in that lies also an opportunity.
Mohammed, I mean, you talk about, the lack of infrastructure, technology, and all of that. Has there just been maybe a lack of appetite to invest, from investors, or is it just a case of maybe the environment is just has not been enabling enough for that investment?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. If you do see the infrastructure development happening in recent times, it is moving in the right direction. So there are green shoots or positive developments around that, and I think that is changing. So look, the environment is not enabling when you have to deal with the complexities around foreign exchange, for example, or availability of that. And I think, also regulation and, just getting support from government stakeholders to create that enablement, has also been more forthcoming, I believe, in recent times. So yeah, I do see that landscape changing.
Well, I mean, talking about this 55 billion rand investment over the next couple of years, just shed some light on the potential that is driving you to make this investment and really where most of the opportunity is that you are looking at.
Yes, the investment includes, logistics and free zones, dry ports as well. So it's not just in port infrastructure on the seaside. The land side is just as important, as we know in Africa, in terms of, what happens outside the gate of a port, in terms of getting the product to manufacturing or getting the product to the consumer. And as I said, if you look at the cost of logistics, and if you look at the impact that has on economic growth in Africa, there's a huge opportunity to bring that down and drive economic growth. We're also investing in free zones and logistics parks that will become areas for people to manufacture. So that will also enable job creation as well as economic growth. So our model of expanding into Africa is similar to the model that we've got in Dubai. You know, Jebel Ali is our flagship port and free zone setup. And we've seen what benefits that has brought to you know, the UAE in terms of economic growth and development, because you know, Dubai over many years has become a logistics hub and a global one at that. And we would like to replicate that model in key growth nodes in Africa. And there's huge potential in that because, as I said, Africa's got a lot of young people. It's got a young consumer that wants to buy product. It's got natural resources that can be manufactured and exported. And you know, our whole purpose as an organization is to enable global trade. And we see Africa as a very important part of that future.
Mohammed, you also spoke about the government creating an enabling environment there for investment. And of course, we know that some of the state-owned port and rail operators are undergoing a drive in which to include private sector players. Are you seeing any gaps there in that effort that DP World can get plugged into?
Absolutely. You know, our engagement with governments across Africa suggests there's very good intent to get a partner like DP World, you know, involved to develop port infrastructure, free zones, logistics infrastructure, and governments around Africa recognize how important that is for trade and economic growth. Today we effectively have got you know, 7 ports across East, West, and Southern Africa, and you know, we're looking for more opportunities. We've also, in the last few years, expanded our logistics footprint through acquisitions, you know, like Imperial and others, and you know, through that, connecting those ports into the hinterland of Africa and into our global network is a key part of our growth strategy. So we definitely, you know, see a lot of governments in Africa seeking good private partners to, you know, drive the logistics investment in infrastructure.
That was Mohammed Akoojee, CEO and MD of DP World SSA.